Hello, this is Jeff Deck coming to you live for another reading by the Fake Fireside. We are again up on the upper floor fireplace region, doing something a little different tonight because Jane's finishing up watching a movie downstairs. So we've got another simulacrum of fireplace right here. So here we go. Before I start on the reading tonight, just want to ask, how's everybody doing out there tonight? Everyone's still holding on to their sanity? If you're quarantined, you're finding enough stuff to do. If you're having to go out into the world for an essential job, that you're staying safe, staying healthy. I hope all that is true for everyone. Things are okay here in our household, and we're just counting down the days to normalcy, which is probably only another month or two off. Anyway, let's do another little reading from the Pseudo-Chronicles of Mark Huntley. We're going to be picking up tonight on Sunday, September 19th, 2004, with an entry called Unremembered Blood. After I put down my metaphorical pen yesterday, I decided I didn't want to wait to talk to Gwendolyn. Not the most inviting day, a gray and drizzly one for certain, but I wanted to head out and net some answers right then. Some illumination. So I called her up, asked if she could meet for lunch. I told her outright that it was important. No more waffling from this Prince of Denmark. She sounded like she knew she had an interrogation coming. I guess she was resigned to it though, because she agreed to meet me at 1:30 p.m. in the Circle. I met her by the fountain. It had high foot traffic even in the rain because you could cut right through the little park to keep going wherever you wanted to go. Connecticut Ave, New Hampshire Ave, Massachusetts Ave. Hell, DuPont really is kind of like being back in New England, isn't it? Was that a subconscious reason that I chose to live in this neighborhood in the first place? Or was it the abundance of quality Thai food? Anyway, plenty of people passing through, but nobody was lingering in the area but a couple of homeless guys. I spotted Gwen with a small umbrella perched on her shoulder. I hadn't bothered with one myself. As I said before, I don't mind a little rain. She nodded at me and said, "Hey, are you sick?" "No, but thanks for asking," I said. Made an effort to smile. Of course I looked like crap. I was running on fumes after a night with little sleep, and my stomach still didn't feel great. Plus I kept blinking and rubbing my eyes because, just to pile onto my problems, I was experiencing a slight blurriness in both of them. It was different than before, though, somehow. It didn't so much obscure the details and things as add weird discolorations to them. But this was just a minor distraction. It'd have to take a back seat to the business of the day. Gwen's hair had gotten wet in spite of her umbrella. It looked dark greenish instead of the brown I knew it to be. That seriousness was back in her eyes with an almost haunted intensity. "Are you hungry?" I said. "No," she said. "Neither am I." "But we can't just sit out here," Gwendolyn said. She nodded at Connecticut Ave, north side. "Walk?" "Yes, walk." We started down the two-red street. She tried to shield me with her umbrella, but I turned her down. I was fine. We didn't say much. I was trying to figure out how to grill her without putting her on the defensive, and she was probably just waiting for my barrage of questions to hit her. Maybe it wasn't nice of me to draw the waiting out. The rain started to patter down harder, and we ended up ducking into Childe Harold. It's a sunken-level restaurant that's really more of a glorified bar, with a dark-paneled, melancholy feel to it that would have made Byron proud. There were only a couple of other patrons in there. We sat on stools at the bar. I still wasn't hungry, but I ordered a harp for courage. Gwendolyn ordered a small sandwich and a bass. It was about 12:15. I suppose they didn't get a big crowd for lunch. Good. I figured I'd dive right in. Tell me what you were going to say, I said. That night after Citron. You asked me if I remembered when we were 9. Gwen sighed. Her hand trembled as she took a gulp from her beer. What do you remember from that year, Mark? What do you remember from that year, Mark? Honestly, in my conscious mind, I can't remember anything unusual happening, I told her. But I've had these dreams lately that I can't help but think are really memories, or like twisted visions of them. What happens in your dreams? There's a little boy and a little girl. The boy has a silvery kind of glow around him, but the girl doesn't. And there's a woman, too. Gwen kept chewing her sandwich. She'd reacted to the last part, I thought, but she said, Go on. The woman, I said. I wasn't going to let her be. Something about the woman? What did she look like? She asked. I couldn't see her very well. She had a long dress and long hair, too. I didn't want to mention the fact that the woman seemed evil, malevolent, because I needed to hear Gwen's take first. Just come out and tell me what you're thinking, Gwendolyn. Please. She stared at her plate, loose strands of hair hanging in her face. They told me, she swallowed. They told me that if I ever spoke to you about what happened, dredged it out of your subconscious, that I could cause serious damage to your brain, to your mind. This sent a ripple of cold over me. Now we were headed into alien territory, all right. I'd have to take what I thought I knew about myself and throw it all out the window. I drained the harp and asked the bartender for another. When he'd gone away, I muttered, Tell me. Tell me. Whatever you're trying to protect me from, it's been coming out anyway. I need to know what's going on. The woman in your dream, in your memory, Gwendolyn said, Do you hurt her? Do you attack her? I shook my head. No, I stopped. Sure, I hadn't done anything. I had just been watching. But the boy, he was me, right? And he'd started running right toward her. And he'd started to change. His skin had loosened all over. Something was changing in his hand. I remember that now. Lynn Samuelson, she said. I heard she was in the hospital for a long time, but she did get better, or so they told me. By that time, you'd already been treated. I bit my lip, willing myself to be as patient as I could, despite the fact that Gwendolyn was only spinning me off into greater confusion. Who is Lynn Samuelson? You didn't know her first name, of course, Gwen said, quietly because the bartender was hovering too close too often. Gwen had abandoned the rest of her sandwich and was just pulling from her bass. She was just Miss Samuelson to you. She wasn't one of those substitutes who tries to get buddy-buddy by having you call her by her first name. I guess it wouldn't have mattered to you, though. Hey, Mary. It might surprise you, but I can remember just about all my teachers from grade school. I've got a memory for that kind of thing. And I can even remember the more colorful substitute teachers. This name, though, I was drawing a blank. I forced out the obvious question. What did I do to this Miss Samuelson? Gwendolyn put her beer glass down and steamrolled ahead with the rest of it. You were the one to put her in the hospital, Mark. The knife, I guess you don't remember the knife, but it just kind of appeared in your hand and seemed like there was blood everywhere. Knife? I said blankly. Rather than facing the possibility that I really had done something so horrific, my mind flew back to the first dream, to a detail I hadn't yet mentioned to Gwendolyn. A knife floated down from the sky. She put a hand on my arm. Mark, I don't know what you mean. Stay with me here. I said, it was something from my dream. Well, this knife didn't float down from the sky, Gwendolyn said. I think she was being gentle, but this is the Sphinx we're talking about. It was the same... Anyway, that's not important. So after they pulled you off her, they took you to a treatment... I lost the last few words as my mind struggled to catch up. I stared at my hands, which were the wrong color. Somebody would have to tune the knobs in my head, for sure. So you're saying I stabbed this substitute teacher, I said, with a knife I found somewhere. Why the hell would I do something like that? I'm trying to get to that, she said. They told me that you were... I interrupted her. Who is this they you keep mentioning? Her eyes were so serious I had to look away. She shot a get-a-clue glance at the bartender who had been approaching us again, and he turned back around to tend to the sole other patron sitting at the bar on the far end. The doctors, said Gwendolyn, and the child psychologists. The police brought in someone, of course, but there was a private institution that got involved too. It wanted to help you. The experts at this institution said they had seen cases like you before, and that it was treatable psychosis, an abnormality in the brain that they could correct. Cases like me. 10 minutes ago, I had no idea I'd ever been a case. What did they do to me to help me? I said. My mouth felt numb. And the colors, everything was the wrong fucking color. I don't know, she admitted. But you were gone a long time. Months. Just when they said you were ready to come back out into the world again, that was when my parents announced that we were moving to Michigan. Dad's work. I only got to see you once after you moved back home before I left, and you were different, she said. Not personality-wise. As to your personality, you were the same Mark that I'd known before you went... Caught herself. But there were things missing from your memory, and that changed you somehow, like those pieces had been, fundamental to the previous you. I'd been told that you would have no memory of stabbing Miss Samuelson, to prevent trauma later in life and as a precaution against forming the connections in the brain that might cause you to do something like that again. But you couldn't remember a few things that had nothing to do with attacking her. Other memories, they'd been affected. I didn't know whether tinkering with your recall, they'd messed it up and went too far or what. In any case, they asked me not to... No, they forbade me to even hint at all that to you. That's insane, though, I said. Science hasn't gotten to that point yet, has it? They certainly wouldn't have 15 years ago. It's like something out of that Spotless Mind movie. They can't just excise the memory out of your head. Unless there was some kind of targeted hypnosis involved? Deep hypnotherapy? I really don't know how that stuff works. Well, I wasn't really in the position to ask much about it at 9 years old, said Gwendolyn. Her sphinx mask was closing back in. And my parents never told me, I mused, because the doctors had warned them, right? The same way they warned you, that I would relapse, suffer emotional trauma. So, is that what's going to happen now? She stole a miserable glance at me. Do you think it will? I thought about Deb's diagnosis, somatoform disorders, but I had no real answer to give Gwen at that time. I'd need some more time to examine the wiring in my brain to see if I could tell what was faulty and what had been rerouted. Though, after mulling it over the rest of the day and most of today too, I still don't feel like I'm any closer to understanding this. I have no doubt that Gwen's telling the truth, strange as the story is. I had to drag it out of her. What I doubt is what was told to her by these doctors, who were either trying to simplify terrifying procedures while talking to a little girl, or were outright lying to cover up something. And what had they told my parents? I did give my mom a call last night and we talked for a few minutes, but I couldn't bring myself to broach the subject. I will, eventually. I'm just not ready yet. Give Hamlet a break here. I've got no memory of a murderous episode from my childhood, and yet it seemed right as Gwen described it. Right enough to bring this certainty to my mind that I did, in fact, attempt to stab Lynn Samuelson to death. So, I ask you, how have I gotten through life so easily after nearly committing murder? There should be a deep red mark on my records, even if those records have been labeled confidential. I should have faced some consequence of this before now. I'm not like the son of a powerful politician, right? How does this just get wiped? Now, I guess I had also hoped that Gwen could indirectly offer me a possible explanation for my follower Friday night. And for the batshit experience of being surrounded by a song that few people should be singing anymore, much less one person right after another. And again, maybe there is an explanation for the Friday weirdness. If my brain has been known to malfunction in the past, then everything on Friday could have been in my head. We remember Grandpa Doucette, don't we? He even had a knife too. This could be a genetic predisposition to crazy fucking knife attacks. God, everything could just unravel from here. The graffiti incident too? Maybe I could then chalk that up as a delusion. I must be looking for the wrong answers, or running from the right ones. In the meantime, in the tedium of daily life, shopping for groceries, paying bills, I'm still haunted by what I don't know and what I think I know that could be a complete load of phony. And colors have gone mostly back to normal today, but I continue to have vision problems. If these hands once carried around a knife, how can I be so sure that they won't want to do it again, now that the dam of memory is broken and all? I wonder why I'm writing about all this instead of seeking help. Maybe some part of me knows that I'm going to do something heinous again soon, and this is record keeping for the police to look at after the deed's been done. If so, you better stay away from me. Posted by Mark Huntley at 8:18 p.m. That is our reading from Mark Huntley tonight. If you all liked what you heard, you can buy me a coffee or check out my books via the links in my Instagram profile, or if you're watching this on YouTube later, in the description field on YouTube. I do update those eventually. So anyway, I will see you all next time. Same bat time, same bat channel, as a wise man once said. And take care of yourself.